What's going on, everybody? American Football Network here with another video today. And today we're bringing you guys our Notre Dame versus Texas A&M preview and prediction video. But before we get started, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Comment those thoughts and opinions down below. Help me reach that goal of 1,400 subs by the end of August. Check out the description for links to our shop, podcast, website, Patreon page, and our college football roundup channel. Appreciate all the support we've been getting from you guys. Football's back. Starts tonight. The week one begins tonight. We got North Carolina, Minnesota, 8 o'clock on Fox. Should be a good one. And then at 8 o'clock on ESPN, North Dakota State, Colorado. Dion and the Buffaloes might start off as the laughing stock. I guess Florida State already took that one, but may end up in a lot of pressure if you're Colorado. If you come out and lose to a FCS school, that's not a good look. And it very well could happen tonight. But let's go ahead and jump into today's video and look at this Notre Dame versus Texas A&M game. Big one, 7:30 on ABC on Saturday. Excuse me. Notre Dame comes in ranked 7th in the country. Texas A&M comes in, I believe, 22nd in the country. So two pretty good teams that we have facing off in this one. One of, if not the biggest game of week one, Clemson, Georgia up there with it. But definitely going to be a great game. It's one or two. It really just depends on your personal opinion. But those games are 1 and 2. You look at this Notre Dame team coming in. Last year went 10-3 overall with losses to Ohio State 17-14, at Louisville 33-20, and at Clemson 31-23. And they returned 3 starters on offense, 5 starters on the defense. This is a team at Notre Dame, when you look, really sort of beat up a little bit already. The biggest injury that this team has is starting left tackle, or supposed to be starting left tackle. Charles Jugasaw is out for the entire 2024 season. I believe it was stated in this game, freshman. I believe his name is Knapp is going to be starting at left tackle, which concerns me a little bit when you look at this defensive line that A&M has. Could be a great defensive line this year, and when you start a freshman at left tackle, that could be a problem. I believe he was a 3-star recruit brought in as a center originally as well. But you look at the rest of the offense. Mitchell Evans returning from injury. That's big for Notre Dame. Jaden Grayhouse is going to be back. Chris Mitchell will be a big threat. Bo Collins transfer in at wide receiver, could be a potential big playmaker on the outside at wide receiver for the Irish. Defensively, though, is where it's at for Notre Dame. Howard Cross, the big dog at nose tackle, All-American player. Then 2 more All-Americans in the secondary with Benjamin Morrison and Xavier Watts. They're going to have this A&M team struggling a little bit here. And this one, you look, they also bring in transfer quarterback Riley Leonard from Duke, and that's what makes the storylines for this game. Riley Leonard, Notre Dame quarterback, Mike Elko, Texas A&M head coach, both of them together at Duke last year. So that'll be something that'll be fun to watch. But overall, I think Notre Dame has a pretty good team this year. When you look at their schedule, really very favorable for them. If they win this game, they may go undefeated. The only other game I really see them losing, if they win this one, would be at USC, potentially at Georgia Tech, but I doubt it. I doubt they would lose. They lose that one. Really, USC is the only other team with a decent chance, and even still, I would take Notre Dame in the game. But flipping the page over to Texas A&M, they also bring in a solid squad. Now they had some pretty big losses in the transfer portal, but they also brought some guys in from the portal. And they've got a returning quarterback in Connor Weigman, who could be the difference in this game for A&M. He could be the difference in this game for A&M, but a solid defensive line that A&M is going to have. Elko, great defensive mind, is going to have that defense playing tight. They're going to be a good defense just right off the bat. It really comes down to what the offense is able to do against this Notre Dame defense. And that's really, to me, is the story of this game is the defenses. And I think that is how it's gonna. I think that's how it's gonna play out is the defenses. So let's go ahead and look at some series history here between these two teams. Notre Dame leads the all-time series 3-2 over the Aggies. A&M won the last meeting in 2001. They beat them 24-3 at Kyle Field. Only time that these two teams have ever faced off there at Kyle Field. Notre Dame is however 2-1 in Dallas against Texas A&M. They played there in 1988. A&M won that one, and then in 93 and 94, Notre Dame beat them. All three of those games played in Dallas, Texas. Lou Holtz, actually the coach of Notre Dame for all three of those games. So that I thought that was pretty interesting. A&M won the first ever meeting 35-10. Notre Dame won 28-3, then 24-21. Then Notre Dame beat them in 2000 in South Bend 24-10, then lost the following year 24-3. So really, out of the 5 games these teams have played, only one has been a close game. 25-point win for A&M in the first one, 25-point win for Notre Dame in the second game. Then you have that lone 3-point win for the Irish, then a 14-point win for Notre Dame, and then a 21-point win for A&M. So this has been a matchup that has really been a blowout pretty much every time these two teams have faced off. So it'll be interesting to see if somebody gets blown out this time or if it is more of a competitive game. I lean more to it being a competitive football game and a close one. Let's go ahead and jump into our biggest 3 factors for this game. For me, number 1 is a quick start for both teams. If you're Notre Dame, you want to come out and start quick, start hot, quiet that crowd down because this is the toughest and one of, if not the toughest environments in college football, home of the 12th man. They're going to be loud. They're going to be crazy. If you can get off to a quick start and shut them up early, that would be huge for Notre Dame. Whereas on the flip side, A&M, all right, they've been anticipating it. Everybody's happy Jimbo Fisher's gone. You bring in a head coach that gets everybody excited. You got a bunch of guys returning. First game of the year, one of the biggest games you've played in a while to open up the season. If you come out and you go up, 10-0 on Notre Dame in the first quarter, that crowd is going to be just when you think they can't get any louder, they're going to be even louder if you can do that. So a quick start for me is the biggest key in this football game is who can start out the gates fast and fire. It may be both teams. It may be neither team. It may be one or the other. We don't know, but whichever one can do it and do it first that's really going to help their chances in this game, especially when you factor in the crowd to it. But not only that, if you're A&M and you start out quick up 10-0 in the first quarter, you got the crowd going. Notre Dame's already got the pressure being down 10. They're on the road. You get the crowd going even more. It just builds and builds and builds the momentum in your favor and just really puts the pressure on them. Whereas Notre Dame, if you can quiet that crowd, it sure does make it a whole lot easier to run all your offense and just go out there, and it really kind of takes some of the pressure off of you. Now, it's going to be hard to quiet this Texas A&M crowd, but to quiet them down a little bit would be huge. Second key for me in this game, or biggest factor in the game for me, is defensive line pressure. These offensive lines, both of them, very solid to say the least. So when I look at this matchup, whichever team can get pressure on the opposing quarterback and even kind of stop the run game with just the 4 defensive linemen, not having to bring a whole lot of blitz packages and stuff, that's going to be huge because then you can drop more people back into coverage. I think Texas A&M is going to have a bit of a harder time with it just because I think Jeremiah Love for Notre Dame is a very good running back. I think he's going to be the best back in the game. And it's gonna be harder to slow him down. Even if you get a guy in the backfield, he can make a miss, he can break a tackle, outrun to the edge, and I think it's going to take a lot. Not only that, Notre Dame's offensive line is a little bit better, and A&M's defensive line isn't quite as good, at least not in the middle for sure. Especially with the loss of Walter Nolan, that really hurt. These defenses would be about even. A&M might actually even have the better defensive line had they still have Walter Nolan, but he's gone to Ole Miss. You don't have him in this football game or this season, so it's going to be a little bit harder for A&M. But if you can get pressure on the opposing quarterback and slow down the run game with your defensive line, that is going to be huge. It's something that I think that both teams are potentially capable of. Now, will either one of them do it? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see Saturday night. But it's definitely a possibility for both of them to do it. I think this is going to be a defensive game for sure. I think there will be some offensive plays, but I think for the most part it will be a very much so a defensive battle on Saturday night. My third biggest factor in this game is wide receiver play. Notre Dame didn't have great wide receiver play last year. Would have liked to have seen something better out of those. You look at A&M. They have the wide receiver advantage here without a doubt. Noah Thomas, Ja'Day Walker, two very good returning starters. Then you throw in Moose Muhammad. He was very solid last year as more of a guy off the bench. Now you throw him in this year as a starter. I think he'll take another step forward. You look as well, Donovan Green at tight end. Now, I will say I do think if Mitchell Evans is fully recovered from the injury, then Notre Dame has the tight end advantage. But if not, then it goes to A&M. Donovan Green, Mitchell Evans, two great tight ends that are going to be showing off in this football game. It's going to be fun to watch. But it all comes down to me to wide receiver play. You got to take advantage of those one-on-ones you're going to get, especially if you're A&M against this defense, against these secondary that Notre Dame has. You have to find a way to get separation off the line of scrimmage, give Weigman an open receiver to hit, get downfield, get deep, get behind them. Explosive plays are what's going to kill a team, especially if you're the home team hitting them. So you gotta get good wide receiver play for A&M, and the same thing for Notre Dame. This A&M defense is not a slouch. It's a very good defense, top 20 potential defense. When you look at who they're coached by and all the talent they have, without a doubt, a top 20 potential defense. And so you're gonna have to get your passing game going a little bit, because it's going to be harder for you to it's going to be harder for you to just run the football if they know, all right, well, we can, bring 7 and drop 4, or bring 6 and drop 5, cover your receivers and just go all out to stop the run game, and you're not going to be able to move the football, which is honestly, I could see that being very possible. That is between the left tackle situation at Notre Dame and their wide receivers. Those are my concerns for them. We know the defense is going to come out, play great. A&M gets 24 points at most in this football game, and that's probably with a Notre Dame turnover. Now, A&M's defense is also good enough to hold Notre Dame to 24 points at most, and that might even be possibly with a turnover. So both of these defenses are very good. I think another one that's not on my big 3 factors, but if a team's able to get a takeaway in the second half, that could be huge. Because I don't really see either one of these offenses turning the ball over too much. So if a team can get a takeaway in the second half, that would be absolutely huge. But my score prediction for this game, I have Notre Dame winning this football game 17-13. Like I said, I think this is going to be a huge defensive battle, very tight game. I think Notre Dame pulls it out in the end. It's just going to be difficult against this defense. Notre Dame obviously has a top 5 defense in the country. And then you look on the flip side, A&M, like I mentioned, Elko, one of the best defensive minds in the game. And I did forget to mention as well, Al Golden coaching that Notre Dame defensive coordinator. He's one of the best, if not the best, defensive coordinators in the country as well. But you got Elko, serving as basically that. Even though he's the head coach, he's going to be having a huge role in the defense. You have a bunch of talent all over the field defensively for A&M. But not only that, nobody knows Riley Leonard better than Mike Elko. Nobody does. That was his starting quarterback the last 2 years. Nobody knows him better than Elko does. Honestly, Notre Dame doesn't know Riley Leonard as well as Elko does. And so that'll be another key to watch is what does Elko call and scheme up that goes against that tries to attack the weaknesses that he knows Riley Leonard has. That'll be something that's interesting to watch. But I do think that Notre Dame is the better team in this football game. Again, because we also can't ignore the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, A&M's been pretty bad for the majority of that time. And so, you can't just ignore that and just throw all of it out the window. Obviously, they're going to be improved this year, but how much improved week one, we'll have to find out. Obviously, they'll be better than they were last season, fresh out of the gate, because they have their starting quarterback back who was injured last season in Weigman. But I think Notre Dame pulls this one out 17-13. I think it's a close game. I think it's going to be an exciting game to a huge weekend of college football. So yeah, you guys let me know what you think down in the comments. Leave your score prediction. Any correct score predictions? We're going to be doing this all season long. Any correct score predictions left in the comments. If you get it correctly, you will be entered into a drawing to win signed memorabilia at the end of the season. So you definitely want to jump in on that. Give us your score predictions in the comments down below. And we appreciate everybody watching. We'll see you guys next time.